Hello, so in this video I'm answering some comments that people left on my last video where I asked you to leave questions for me to answer about driving anxiety. So I'm going to get straight into this, and there's something that you can all learn from this. There's something quite interesting has come up which I expected. So let's get on with it. Now I'm not going to name the actual people or the username. I'm not going to put a picture up on the screen, even though they have already left the comments openly in public, but I'm just going to read them out, and if it's your question, you'll know what it is. And we'll come back to that point in a moment. So as I read these out, I want you to spot the common problem, because there's 4 comments so far, and there's another 2 on the community page, so I'll read these out. So the first one said, been driving for 30 years, and all of a sudden I can't drive on highways, and when I do drive on regular fast roads, if I see a lot of space in front of me, I start to get anxiety. I don't get it. The next one says, with me, my problem is driving to new places. I don't like knowing what the route looks like. And the next one, you'll see why I'm doing a lot of this in a moment. The next one says, I used to drive all over, absolutely not a care in the world. Then I had my baby and was driving out of town. Baby a week old. Her dad was shouting at me for my driving, which knocked my confidence. This was 9 years ago, and I've not drove out of town since. Motorway, which is so frustrating, as I can't take kids to nice places. I've always blamed kids' dad, but maybe it wasn't his fault after watching this. And then a follow-up from that says, it literally feels like I'm going to faint when I try. It's awful. Can anyone spot what the common problem is with those things? Well, I'm just going to switch over to my community tab if I can find it. Because there's some others on there that I need to read out as well. So I'll be back in a moment when I found that. Okay, so here we are with another 2 posts on my community page, and I will soon get into this and answer them and explain what this is all about. So, I've only been driving around 5 months due to anxiety. I found I'm getting more relaxed, but the 2 main issues I have causing anxiety is being tailgated by the van men or big cars when I'm going the speed limit. They don't overtake, just stay at my rear, trying to push me on. And the second is big roundabouts, the ones with multiple lanes with arrows pointing in the same directions. I've got to go on a dual carriageway which has these kind of roundabouts, so I haven't actually gotten the nerves to go on a dual carriageway. I worry I will take the wrong exit and end up on a motorway. Ha ha. And last one, I have a fear of driving in the rain. I was fine a few months ago, but now I have started having full panic attack. Can anyone see what? There is one thing wrong with all of those questions. And when I say wrong, please don't tell it's the wrong way. I'm not being rude by saying this. This is my job as a therapist, to look into what people say. And just by reading these things, I can tell massive things about a lot of these people. So, did anyone spot what was actually wrong with those questions? They weren't questions. They were statements. Did you spot that? They didn't actually ask me a question. Now, again, don't tell it's the wrong way. This is what people do. So, for example, this one, with me, my problem is driving to new places. I don't like not knowing what the route looks like. So you're telling yourself that. You're making a statement, telling yourself that. And you see, the way you get over your fear of driving is the complete opposite. You ask questions about it. So this is something that you learn when you become a therapist, and it can help you. I'll teach you it now, and it can help you throughout your life. There is a difference between a statement and a question. Let's look at, for example, how police can use this to get people to confess to things. Imagine this has all got relevance, so you'll see where this is going. It will all loop around to driving anxiety. So imagine that you're under arrest by the police for some reason, and they say to you, you were seen in the vicinity at the time the crime happened. Yeah, that's a statement. That's what I would do, is just keep quiet. What you wouldn't do is this. The police say something like, you were seen in the vicinity at the time the crime happened. Yeah, okay, I was there. Yeah, I did it. They haven't even asked you a question and you just admitted it. It's so funny when you spot this in sales talk. A salesperson will say something like, this deal ends at the end of the week. And people go, oh no, I've got to sign them now, I've got to get it quick. If that was me and they say, this deal ends at the end of the week, and I'll just sit there and I won't say a thing because they've just made a statement. Estate agents are great at doing this. You just made a statement. You haven't asked me a question. So you see, that's a different kind of thing, but it reminded me because when you make a statement, you're making it true. So you're saying like, I have driving anxiety. I can't drive on roundabouts. And then people go and say, I've got driving anxiety. You're making it true by saying statements, whereas the way you get rid of it and the way I help people in therapy is to ask questions. Because when you make a statement, you're pushing away. It's like, I have anxiety, I have a problem. You're just pushing it away. When you ask questions, you're putting it in. Why have I got this problem? Worst question ever. It doesn't whelp. It doesn't help, doesn't work. It doesn't whelp. Whelp's the new word I just made. It means it doesn't help and it doesn't work. If you ask questions, it pulls you in. You start coming in and finding in the problem. So something, I will answer these questions as best I can because I'm going to guess what people are asking me. But something people often say to me in sessions is, you're really good at asking questions. And I've heard this over and over again. People say, wow, that is a good question, because that's how you do it. So, for example, I will answer these again, and this is all relevant because you need to understand the fact that you've said these things means that you're going the wrong way about fixing it straight away. So what I want you to do, these people that have made these statements, not ask questions, I want you to start asking questions to yourself about them. Don't just make a statement, but actually ask yourself questions. An example is, I am just trying to think of a good one I can tell you, because some are quite private. I was talking to a man once, just going to think what I can say about this. And I'm just trying to think of a good example I can give you without giving anything away too personal to anyone. I was working with someone once, and the way you fix this, the way you fix driving anxiety, is I will speak to people and I'm forming a question in my mind. I'm forming what is called a power question, or I call it a killer question. It's a question that when you ask people, it just boom, it knocks them out. And they just, like this, they often start crying, it gets very emotional. Now, it's not just a question. It's not just people think, oh, you've paid this money to these trainers and you've got this list of secret questions. And if you just read them out on YouTube, you could help people for free. No, it doesn't work like that. I form the questions in my mind based on many things, like what you're saying, what you're doing, your body language, and I'm piecing together a question that when I ask you is going to have impact. And people who work with me, if anyone's watching, leave a comment. People have said to me, you're really good at asking questions. And that comes from 20 odd years of doing it as a driving instructor. But anyway, sorry to waffle on about that, but that's an important point. The point is, these people who ask questions haven't actually asked a question. So no wonder you've got problems if you make statements telling people you've got anxiety, I've got anxiety, I can't do this. Stop doing that, because you're making it true. The one thing you can do, I can tell everyone, is to start pretending you haven't even got the problem, and you'll be amazed how far that goes. But let's go through and I'm going to answer them. I'm guessing what I think they're asking me. So, been driving for 30 years, and all of a sudden I can't drive on highways. I'm cutting these a bit short. I don't get it. You won't get it because it's subconscious. So your problem is subconscious. It's nothing to do with the roads. It's when you're driving fast or high speed, something from somewhere has triggered a past memory. So I've had this where people have been driving, very common, people say, I look to the side, I look back, and when I look back, I get a massive panic attack. It's because when you look to the side, you were distracted, your mind went off somewhere else, something from the past popped in. This all happens within a fraction of a second. And then a memory has popped up and it's now stuck in your driving. So I'll do it in slow motion. I did this before in a video. So let's just make up a story of a man who's come to me with anxiety, and it's because he was bullied at school. So you're driving down the road, he looks to the right, and he sees a billboard, a big advert for something that reminds him subconsciously of being at school. His mind goes, school, bullies. He then looks back at the road, the feeling of the bullies picking on him fires up, and he's linked it to driving. That's how it works. That's one way it can work. There's other ways. It sounds bizarre, but I've had people who've come to me and said, I don't really believe any of this stuff, but I'll give it a go. And an hour later at the end of a session, they're like, I don't believe it. I just don't believe that. That was so weird. I didn't believe any of this, and that's just crazy. That's one way it can work. But what I'll say is, don't get hung up on the why you've got it, because it doesn't work like that. You don't always have this story. And these stories that I tell you, these come from the clients. This isn't me making it up. That's what the clients have put together. Now, is that even true? Who knows? Who cares? If your problem's gone, I always say this to people, if you can fix your problem, but there's one catch, you won't know why you had it or where it came from. You're going to get rid of it, but you won't know why you had it. People always say, I don't care, just get rid of it. I just want it gone. You won't get why you've got it until you do therapy. And even then, you may not know. Because I've had people who've been sitting there in tears. I've had people screaming, tears running down the face. They've had to go off and get tissues and whatever. And at the end, I'll say to them, is there any idea what that was about? And they say, I don't know what's happened. I just don't know what was going on. I don't even know what I was thinking of. I can't even remember what I was thinking. What's happened? What time is it? What day is it? You don't need to know. It's all subconscious. That's where therapists go wrong. It's where I used to go wrong. I used to try and make sense of it all. And notice what I just said there. I'll come to that in a moment. Next one. With me, my problem is driving to new places. I don't like not knowing what the route looks like. Well, the first question I would ask you is, what makes you not like knowing what the route looks like? And then we go from there. So you see, I can't answer why you've got that, but I would start by asking you, what is it about not knowing what it looks like? And I'm a complete guess, this is a total guess, somewhere in your past you've probably had something happen where you were lost or in an unfamiliar place or something. It's a complete guess, might be wrong. That's not how you do therapy. That's me giving you my suggestion, which is not good. But I'm not talking to you, so I can't ask you. It's just that's what I've had before. Had somebody once who couldn't drive to new places. Went back to a time when there was a kid, they lost their pet. The pet was running around outside, lost as in not died, he got lost outside. And their emotion from not being able to find the pet had linked to driving years later. Again, that's their theory. It may have nothing to do with that, but that's how it worked. So next one. I used to drive all over without a care in the world. I'm just paraphrasing these. Then you had a baby. Having a baby is a huge reason for driving anxiety, not the cause itself, but it often happens in that time because it's a life change. And they're talking about the baby's dad was shouting at me for the drive, and this is really common. Really common that partners can cause driving anxiety. And I find it quite funny sometimes when I've had calls where people have had the partner with them and they're moaning about why does it cost so much to have therapy, and I think, you're the reason they've got it. I don't say anything, but often you can tell you're the reason they've got it in the first place, and you're moaning that they've got to pay to get rid of it. So anyway, I'm not saying it can be in your case. Again, I can't answer these in full without speaking to you, because you can't do therapy just through reading, but I can tell quite a bit from this. You said you've always blamed the kids and the dad. Maybe it wasn't his fault. You can't say. Probably something they said has reminded you of something. That's all I can say. Again, it's very hard to answer these questions because that's not how therapy works. You don't just come to me and I say, oh, it's because blah, 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 blah. I don't tell you anything. You tell me. Right? I don't give you the answer. You give me the answer. That's where therapists go wrong. You said it feels like I'm going to faint when I try. That's me, what I just said a few minutes ago. I said I'll come back to that. Well, there you go, because you're trying, not doing. I've mentioned this before in another video. Imagine this is your kitten. If I said, pick the kitten up, easy. Try and pick the kitten up. That's trying. If you do that, you're doing. This is trying. Watch that video and listen out to how many times people use the word try. When you've been trained in this stuff, it's awful watching TV shows. When people say, well, I'm really trying so hard and I can't do it. Well, no wonder, because you're trying, you're not doing it. If you're trying hard, you'll never do it. You've got to actually do it. And you see how this is what therapy is like. It's going to find these other questions again. It's all about these little things people say, and it's not being nitpicky. It's not being rude to people and being pedantic. It's what you do. You pick on what people say in a nice way, and you think, oh, that's why they've got that. So, I've only been driving 5 months due to anxiety. Things like this, by the way, like tailgating, and I'm not putting your problem down in any way, but that's not really driving anxiety. That's just driving. It's just getting used to it. It's just, I had it yesterday. I had someone driving like about that far behind my bumper at 60 miles an hour. They're just idiots, is the simple way to put it. They don't know what they're doing, they can't drive, they think they're great drivers and they don't got a clue what they're doing, and then they crash into the back of you. Get out, walk up to a learner to drive a car and say, can't you drive? Yeah, that's all I can say about those people. That's not real driving anxiety, because it's just like, if it becomes worse, it is, but that's just like an annoyance, an issue. It's not. People I work with have problems where they can't drive because of anxiety, like they're crying, they're screaming, their life's falling apart. And if that's you, again, I'm just guessing because it's so hard to do this to messages. But that could just be like a normal problem, not so much driving anxiety, more just like a very, very light kind of annoyance. That's what driving is. And I always say to people, you can't fix everything with therapy, because it's not a panacea. It means you can't fix everything. It's like people say, I get a bit anxious when people drive close behind me. Deal with it is my answer. Not being rude again, but it's just brutally honest. That's just life. It's just what people do. You can't fix other people with your therapy. So again, this is what people come to me and they say, I really don't like my partner, the way they do this and this. Well, what do you want me to do? Because that's them. I can't help them, I can help you. So again, it's just, if it gets worse and worse and worse, it becomes a massive phobia, then that's the problem. But if it's just people being close behind you and going the wrong way, well, I did that. You've only been driving 5 months. I was going the wrong way for years. You just get used to it. So the next comment, question, whatever, I have a fear of driving in the rain. I was fine a few months ago, but now I have a panic attack. Very similar to the other one I answered, which is where it's probably just because the rain has made you think of something. I did a video on nighttime driving. A lot of people have mentioned that about driving in the night of rain. It's because when you drive in the rain, it's triggering an old memory, an old feeling. What that is, you won't know till you do therapy. I can't just say, it's not like, oh, driving in the rain, that's because when you were 12, this happened. You've got to understand that every single person has got a unique reason for their problem. It's all unique to you. It's bespoke to you. It's not just, people always get it wrong. They all say in the comments, why can't you just make a video where you just fix everyone? Because every single client I work with is totally different. One of the best therapists ever, Dr. Milton Erickson, who I've mentioned before, said that every time you start a session, even with the same person, if it's a second or third session, whatever, you're having to constantly reinvent your therapy every time. You're doing new things every time. I've had times where I've had the same client twice. Each session has been totally different. You can't give a general answer as to this causes it, but it will be some kind of thing from your past, some feeling, some memory from your past, which you will only know when you do therapy. Because although it sounds like I'm sitting here selling you therapy, well, I am, because that's how you get rid of it. There is nothing you can ever do in a video or an MP3 to get rid of it. These stupid techniques where you lift your arm in the air, then eat a banana and jump up and down 3 times, secret methods to fix anxiety, it's rubbish. You need to do professional therapy. So I know that wasn't probably the most in-depth answers people wanted, but you have to understand it's quite hard to answer when you haven't asked a specific question, like not just why have I got it. I need to know the idea, like a bit about the background, but even then I won't be able to say why you've got it. So that's why I don't do many of these videos, because it's very hard to answer questions other than just saying you need to do therapy. It's a bit like phoning up a doctor and saying I've got this pain, but you need to come and see me. You can't just say this is what it is. So I will do more of these. If anyone has any questions, please leave questions below. And it's good that came up, because that shows you about statements and questions. But please do leave specific questions about your problem or about... It's very hard, because I want people to ask questions, but my answer is always, you just need to do therapy to get rid of it, because that's what it is. And the common problem I see is people sometimes for months leave comments on my videos saying I've got this, I've got this. Just do therapy and get rid of it. That's how you do it. That's what you got to do. So if you want to contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. If you had your question read out there, you want to put more detail so I can answer in more detail, please do. Check out these other videos on the screen now. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.